Abandonment, Part II, How it Shows Up in Our Adult Love Relationships. In Part 1, we went over how the abandonment wound can develop when we're young. But what does it look like as an adult? How do we recognize it when it pops up? As adults in our love relationships, if we never learned how to talk about our emotional experiences or ask for help, we simply keep doing what we learned to do as a child in order to survive, feeling so uncomfortable inside. We lash out in fear or act in a controlling manner when our partner simply needs some time alone or wants to hang out with friends. We may spend a lot of time thinking about where our partners are, what they're doing, and how they're feeling. We focus on our partner's faults, pick fights, or push someone away if they start getting too close. We may initially chase an unavailable partner, then become bored when they are available. We may find ways to distract ourselves, shut down, or retreat from a relationship when it starts to become more intimate. Or we may even avoid relationships altogether by using rationales like, there's no good ones left, or I'm just too busy, or by setting unrealistic expectations that are near impossible to meet. Yet despite all of that, we still silently yearn for connection. A word that many adults use to describe this confusing mix of feeling unsure, untrusting, yet silently still wanting connection is despair. We silently want to be in a relationship, but when our abandonment wound kicks in, we feel ill-equipped, undertrained, inadequate, unsure, or emotionally out of control in our relationships. So we may initially lean in, but when we start feeling uncomfortable inside, we do what we taught ourselves to do a long time ago to feel better. We chase and then we distance. We cling to and then panic and lash out. We run towards, then pull away. We crave being with someone, then find fault with them. All because of the confusing, contradictory mix of a raw, unrefined emotional state paired with the unconscious meaning that relationships can't be trusted. And this unsure, underskilled, awkward, and lonely state can feel very vulnerable. But we're not kids anymore. We're fully grown adults, capable of doing so much more than we could when we were young, some people ask. So why do we still avoid people, push people away, or distance ourselves when people get too close? Because it's become a pattern. And as we went over earlier, this pairing of a highly uncomfortable emotional nervous system state with a lack of relational trust gets adopted and automated by our brains over time while getting reinforced by the behaviors that stem from it. So although the pattern was initiated from our childhood experience, and we're adults with many more skills now, this remembered emotional meaning combination goes on to unconsciously direct how we interact with other adults and can even influence who we choose as our partners. That is, unless we stop the pattern and intentionally create new ones. So now that we understand a little bit more about how the abandonment wound develops and how it can follow us into adulthood, the real question is, how can we heal from it so we can experience healthy, connected, and interdependent love relationships? Well, I can tell you from experience that it's a layer-by-layer process that involves developing and differentiating your emotional response, strengthening lesser used areas of your brain, and teaching both your mind and body to trust relationships again. And all of that begins with discovery. Discovery work is simply about learning and reconnection. You can do that. It's about learning how your brain and body work. It's about learning and putting together the pieces of how you got to the state that you're experiencing today. It's about reconnecting to or identifying what you value and reconnecting to or identifying your unique strengths. All of this discovery helps your brain organize itself and put together memory pieces, pieces that may have been disorganized before by an unexpected, unwitnessed experience. And this reorganization is part of what helps your emotional nervous system find its center again. Our bodies are amazing. They can flush out, reset, and adopt something new. We just have to consistently and repeatedly show it what we want. And the good news is you have an advantage now that you didn't have before. What's different about you now as an adult is that you have far more skills than you did as a child. You have an abundance of resources around you to learn from. You live at a time when humans know so much more about our brains and bodies and how they work. And now you have awareness that you didn't have back then. Now, I do understand that the thought of a lot of raw, big emotion gushing to the surface can be a bit intimidating. And I felt that dread of going through those intense, unrefined emotional waves that can sometimes come up when we slow down and look inward. And I also know that the only way out of what you're currently experiencing is through it. But you don't have to do it alone. There are a lot of supportive people out there who have worked through their abandonment wounds. And there are many skilled, experienced, trauma-informed practitioners who understand or are learning the neurophysiology of our emotional state and can guide you through refining it. Remember, humans are designed to experience an emotionally rich life and emotionally connected relationships. And that only happens as our emotional state develops more fully and adopts a calmer center, as we strengthen lesser used relational brain areas, and as we learn to think more flexibly about what's possible in our relationships. So go get the life and relationships you deserve. As you're working with your therapeutic practitioner, if you'd like to learn more about your brain, body, and relationships in a simplified, practical, low-cost way, you're welcome to join our community. We're using expanding knowledge of the brain and body to help you overcome anxiety, return to your authentic self, and experience more connected relationships. I'm pulling for you, and I look forward to seeing you in class.